Another black teen drowning in the water. If you don't like no cussing, scroll the fuck up.
Another black boy is dead. 13-year-old Darryl Lowery was found underneath a dock at Storm Thurmond Lake in South Carolina.
This is a public service announcement to all parents who have children that look like us. I want you to sit them down and let them know that just because you have friends in your circle don't mean that they're in your corner. Tell them, trust no one.
2 days ago from when I'm filming this, on July 20th, 2026, 13-year-old Darryl Lowery was murdered.
Now, you guys, 2 teenagers have been charged after holding a 13-year-old underwater until he drowned, taking his life.
And the 17-year-old Landon and the 16-year-old held him underwater till he was no longer alive. Now, this happened at Clarks Hill Lake. It's also known as J. Strom Thurmond Lake. Now, when they said that it happened at a residential dock on Beauregard Drive, it's owned by a county councilman, and his name is Bernie Hamden.
Black parents stating that they have to teach their black children to be careful when they are the only black kid in a group of white friends is racist. Is it racist, or is it pattern recognition based on a long, painful history? Stay with me before you get mad.
You know, I'm so tired of white people attacking black people. I'm so tired of Indian people attacking black people. I'm so tired of Asian people attacking black people. I'm so tired of Latino people attacking black people. I mean, all these people, all they do every day, every weekend is unalive black people in their communities. And I'm tired of it.
Parents gotta wake up black kids hanging with white kids and see what's going on all around the world, and stop letting your kids go off by themselves, especially the young ones. My kids are not going anywhere without me or their father. Now, that's a comment from somebody who sounds completely exhausted, frustrated, heartbroken after seeing yet another tragedy involving a black child. I mean, why are so many people are still demanding, are still waiting for answers, are still waiting to see justice in the Norman Wells case? Here comes another name making headlines. A 13-year-old Darryl Lowery is a black child. But now, people are once again demanding answers, are demanding justice, asking how something this terrible could happen and why another young life of this child has been lost. So what exactly is happening here? What do investigators say about this thing? What took place? Well, that's exactly what we are going to see, what we are going to break down in this video, separating what is confirmed and separating answers and questions that people are trying to have in the video. So let's dive into this, and if this is your first time, please subscribe so we can have more of these updates, more of these discussions. Otherwise, I'll see you at the end for more commentaries.
Another black boy is dead. 13-year-old Darryl Lowery was found underneath a dock at Storm Thurmond Lake in South Carolina. And while some people may think this is just another accidental drowning or whatever they're calling it these days, investigators this time they don't believe that. It's something else. According to South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, 17-year-old Landon Austin Moore has been charged with murder. Authorities allege that during a physical altercation at the dock, Darryl suffered knife lacerations before he was intentionally held underwater until he died. A 16-year-old who has not been identified was also taken into custody and transported to South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice as the investigation continues. Darryl was just 13 years old and someone who is raising a black son in the United States. Stories like this terrify me. I'm afraid. I genuinely am. I'm afraid of what friends he might make along the way, what people he might trust along the way, and if something like this could potentially happen to him in the future. It is important to teach your kids to be cautious. Extremely cautious, especially during these times, because there are so many accidental drownings, and just drownings in general, of black men and young boys. And we're noticing.
I knew the milk stink and water stank when they said it was a conflict of interest. Okay, so I already spoke about Darryl Lowery, the 13-year-old that was unalive down in Modoc, South Carolina, by a 17-year-old Landon Austin Moore and a 16-year-old who was unnamed. I'm finding out that allegedly this happened in the backyard at a boat dock of where they live. Of course, we know that his body was found on Monday. There was a physical altercation that involved all three of them. They're saying that Darryl suffered a knife laceration during that altercation, and the 17-year-old Landon and the 16-year-old held him underwater till he was no longer alive. Now, this happened at Clarks Hill Lake. It's also known as J. Strom Thurmond Lake. Now, when they said that it happened at a residential dock on Beauregard Drive, it's owned by a county councilman, and his name is Bernie Hamden. So seeing that these three boys were in a foster home And Bernie Hamby is a foster parent. Everything spoken here on out is allegedly. I can almost guarantee you that this 17-year-old and possibly the 16-year-old have been doing some things in this home to other children. Except a lot of them haven't spoken up because of the political influence that's down there. All the pull that old Bernie had. Did this physical altercation happen and start in the house and move its way outside the house? Was Bernie there? Did he know? I'm pretty sure you got cameras. Where are the other victims at? Where are the past victims at? Hit my email up. This sounds like a lot of stuff is getting ready to come out. And I think this time, a lot of people ain't gonna be quiet. I'll bring you more as soon as I finish reading through all this other stuff that I've got.
Another black teen drowning in the water. If you don't like no cussing, scroll the fuck up. So they just found 13-year-old Darryl Lowery drowned in the water out there in North Carolina. Now they have arrested 2 juveniles, one 17 and one is 16 years old. The 17-year-old is named Landon Moore. Earlier that day, they said there was a physical altercation between Moore and Lowery. Allegedly, they said that the 17-year-old and the 16-year-old had intentionally held Lowery down in the water to drown him until he was no longer living, like stop breathing, stop moving and everything. Not only that, they have admitted to this already, saying that there was a knife involved as well. But none of the teens has confessed it to who used the knife. I'm not sure if Darryl was in a group home, y'all. What's so crazy is that he's been missing since June, or at least reported been missing since June. So I don't know how these boys even connected and linked with each other. They saying that it was a conflict of interest. Now the sheriff's invited in Sled to come investigate. Now do this mean that one of these kids is related to somebody higher up or in that little field? Because how the fuck do a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old hang out with a 13-year-old? Then they don't even want to name or picture the 16-year-old. Was that the one that's related to somebody in the system? RIP to Darryl, man.
This is a public service announcement to all parents who have children that look like us. I want you to sit them down and let them know that just because you have friends in your circle don't mean that they're in your corner. Tell them, trust no one. This is happening far too often. Look at Noah Wells and Daniel Irving, Nick Lee. There are many other cases where little brown kids are going off somewhere near water with their so-called friends and not coming home. So just a little while ago in Modoc, South Carolina, they found 13-year-old Darryl Lowery on Monday. They found him in the water. He had been drowned. And they just arrested 2 juveniles, one 17 and the other one is 16. Now the 17-year-old, his name is Landon Austin Moore. Don't have a picture of him just yet. So according to the arrest warrant, there was a physical altercation involving Moore, Lowery, and then a 16-year-old on Monday at a boat dock in Modoc. Now they're saying, according to the warrant, that Darryl suffered knife lacerations. Now the investigators allege that Landon Moore, and the 16-year-old, they haven't named him yet, intentionally held Darryl underwater until he was no longer living. Yes, they admitted to this. Now it didn't specify who used the knife and what led to this whole confrontation. Now, Landon Moore was booked into the McCormick County Detention Center. Like I said, they haven't released his mugshot yet. The 16-year-old, he's been taken to the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice. Now, I'm not for sure if Darryl was in a group home or something like that, because I did notice that Darryl was listed as missing on June the 11th this year at around 8 p.m. And then he was later found. So with that being said, I don't know how all 3 of them knew each other. But I know one thing, you can't trust everybody. One of the many questions that I have, they did say it was a conflict of interest. That's why the sheriff invited in Sled to come and investigate. Was one of these kids related to somebody in law enforcement or a judicial system? And if so, how many times have they gotten away with doing stuff similar to this? With Landon Moore being 17, then you had a 16-year-old, and then Darryl only being 13, makes me think they took advantage of this young kid. Y'all pray for this family. That is so sad. It never should have happened. And like I said, remind your young people, they can't trust everybody. And everybody not your friend. Call them associates first. Let them gain your trust.
2 days ago from when I'm filming this, on July 20th, 2026, 13-year-old Darryl Lowery was murdered by 17-year-old Landon Austin Moore and an unidentified 16-year-old in McCormick County, South Carolina. There's not a lot of information about this since it literally just happened 2 days ago, but from the documents that SLED, which is the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, released, we know that these 2 kids, the 17-year-old and the 16-year-old, were foster kids placed with the chairman of the McCormick County City Council, Bernie Hamby. I feel like that's important to note. And 13-year-old Darryl Lowery had recently been placed in this home as well. Hamby was allegedly asleep in his house when these events occurred. But 17-year-old Landon Austin Moore and the unidentified 16-year-old cut or stabbed Darryl and then held him under the water in the lake off of a boat dock at the chairman's house in Modoc, South Carolina. And y'all wonder why there's so much speculation regarding the Nolan Wells case. It's because Black people are murdered and lynched in the South on a near daily basis, and law enforcement barely does shit about it. So keep tabs on this case, share Darryl's story, say his name, and if I can find like a GoFundMe or any other way to support Darryl's family, I'm going to put it down below in the comments.
Now, you guys, 2 teenagers have been charged after holding a 13-year-old underwater until he drowned, taking his life. So investigators say that this all took place on July 20th. 17-year-old Landon Moore and a 16-year-old that has not been named got into a physical altercation with a 13-year-old by the name of Darryl Lowery. Investigators say that Darryl sustained lacerations from a knife during this altercation. So after this altercation, 17-year-old Landon Moore and that 16-year-old then held Darryl's head underwater until he drowned. Police later recovered Darryl's body, and both Landon and that 16-year-old have been charged with murder. In reports, it says that Landon and the 16-year-old were foster kids. Now, even though Landon was taken to the McCormick Detention Facility, his mugshot has not been released, but his description says he's a white male, 6'2", and about 180 pounds. So the fact that these boys were that big and they did this to this 13-year-old is completely sickening. And y'all, they also need to charge that 16-year-old as an adult. Justice for Darryl.
The investigation continues in the murder of a 13-year-old boy in McCormick County. Darryl Lowery was found dead in Clarks Hill Lake near a dock in Modoc Shores. The McCormick County Sheriff's Office requested SLED take over the investigation. Investigators say 17-year-old Landon Moore and a 16-year-old got into a fight with Lowery. Police say Lowery was cut with a knife and then held underwater until he died. Moore is charged with murder. The charges against the 16-year-old have not been.
All right now. Hey. You better give him the same treatment. 35 years. You better give him 35 years.
Black parents stating that they have to teach their black children to be careful when they are the only black kid in a group of white friends is racist. Is it racist, or is it pattern recognition based on a long, painful history? Stay with me before you get mad, because I think a lot of people completely overlook why these conversations are even had. This is not just about Nolan Wells. This is a pattern. No, not every case is the same, and no, not every suspicious death is a murder. But when people die, disappear, or get hurt with a group of friends they were supposed to trust, and the story always comes back unanswered, people remember. People remember Kendrick Johnson, a 17-year-old black boy who was found deceased at school rolled up in a gym mat, and it was ruled an accident. After there was missing surveillance footage, one of the children's dads ended up working for the FBI, and Kendrick Johnson's organs were all missing from his body. We remember Tamla Horsford, a black mother who went to an adult sleepover, the only black lady there. She ended up accidentally falling from a balcony, but despite everyone there, no one could ever give a confirmed story of what happened. People remember Elijah Witherspoon, an 18-year-old black teenager who went boating with his white friends in South Carolina, drowned. It was ruled not a homicide, but no questions have ever been answered as to what happened. People remember the black teen that got attacked by several white adults, and the sheriff himself had to ask for a SBI investigation after people pointed out that he was related to the female in the video. People remember the black little boy that was just left across the river while his white friends and their parents sat across there mocking him, dehumanizing him, humiliating him, and repeating racist remarks towards him while he was over there scared for his life, trying to force him to swim across, even though he told them he could not swim and he was scared. Thank God that family was there to help him across, or he could have been just like Elijah or just like Nolan. And now, speaking of Nolan, we have conflicting times, conflicting explanations, a phone that reportedly left the island without him, and a phone that was reportedly returned to his mother with messages deleted. We have a parent connected to the friend group that is a judge. No, of course, none of that proves a crime, but we've seen enough of these cases to where we're not going to let another one go unanswered. Because a lot of you guys, watched that video of that black little boy being stranded across the river and you laughed and thought it was a joke and thought it was funny. Kids, friendly banter back and forth. No, that was not a joke. That was dehumanization. That video gave us a perfect example of how someone can be like, oh, but we're best friends, while still not treating that black child as their equal. Real friends don't humiliate you. Real friends don't leave you stranded across a river. Real friends don't take the one person from the group that feels uncomfortable in water and can't swim, leave them over there in fear for their lives, and sit there and laugh about it. That's not a fucking joke. This is exactly how preventable accidents happen. When you stop viewing someone else's fear, safety, and dignity as equal to yours, and you start treating it like the butt of a joke. So this is exactly why black parents have to have conversations with their children that white parents don't have to have. And the saddest part is, black people do not have these conversations with their children because they want to, because they don't like white people, because they're racist. They have to. This is absolutely taught. You may not be sitting down with your children, giving them a history lesson on every racial slur that was ever said, but what do they hear when the news comes on? So instead of getting mad, just think for 1 second what goes on in your home. What do they hear when it's something involving a black person? Do they hear you call them thugs, criminals, animals, dangerous? Do they hear you laugh at racist jokes? Do they hear you excuse harmful stereotypes because they're just jokes? Do they hear you agree when people cherry pick statistics and pretend like that defines an entire race? That teaches kids too. And then when situations happen in sports, in relationships, jealousy, embarrassment, those situations don't just stay as normal disagreements between friends. It becomes something much darker. Because when you're raised to believe that you're better than someone, losing something to them feels like an insult. Being rejected for them feels like an insult. Watching them succeed feels like an insult. And this is why it is so dangerous. Racism isn't just saying a racial slur.
White people, it's time to lock the fuck in defending our black brothers and sisters in this country. And specifically white women, I am talking to you. The things that I have read and seen about the death of Nolan Wells are absolutely horrifying, because why are we focusing on his behavior when he's dead? Just a couple of weeks ago, we were doing the same BS type of thing with Cohen Wiley and his mom. We could also talk about Tamla Horsford, who wound up dead after a sleepover with all of her white friends, and still to this day, no one really knows what happened. It's not enough to say, oh my gosh, if this was my child, this is how I would act. It's not enough to say, if this was my friend. I need to start acting like it is, because these are our neighbors. I guarantee you, if it were my white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed child who went missing after a day with his friends, and they say, well, we don't know where he went, and then he winds up dead, you guys think that anyone's gonna be like, well, was he arguing with someone? No, absolutely not. That's not happening, you guys. So I need you to make a choice here. Are you going to let white supremacists and racists feel safe in your presence, or are you going to let black people feel safe in your presence? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if I hear someone in my life say, well, what happened? But nope. Well, his mom shouldn't have. Nope. And furthermore, it's not the job of black people to explain to you how to react to this news. It's not their job to say, hey, here's why this is wrong. Or, hey, let me tell you about the history of what's led up to this. Figure it out, you guys. You're in one of the most privileged positions in this country, and it's not that hard. Nolan, Tamla, Cohen, those are just the names you know. So many of the names of these people that have been killed by police, disappeared, murdered, we don't even hear about them. They don't even make it into the news cycle. So I need you to do a few things. I need you to, number one, not let people get away with this bullshit in your presence. That's your job now. No justification. No, well, what if? No, nope. Stop it. Stop it right now. Also, need you to make sure when things like this do happen, we're not letting them just fade with the next news cycle. You guys remember how long Gabby Petito was in the news? Every life deserves that type of spotlight. And as white people, we're holding the spotlight. If you're going to come in the comments and say anything else, go argue with the wall.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Now, after watching the video and trying to go through the comments, there is one message that keeps coming again and again, especially from black community. Now, many people are saying justice should never depend on who is the victim or who is the suspect. They believe every family, whether white, whether black family, deserves the same investigation, deserves the same urgency, the same accountability, the same justice, and the same determination to uncover the truth, no matter who is involved in the case, no matter the skin color. Now, as I was going through the comments, there is one comment that really stood out to me. And yeah, let's read this comment. It says, treat him as they treat us. 35 years, life without parole. And not to mention, somebody is almost being beheaded. Prayers to the family, rest in paradise. Now, whether you agree with that comment or you don't agree, but I think that comment that reflects what many people are saying about equal justice. They believe the punishment should be based on the evidence, not on the race. They also believe every case deserves the same level of investigation, the same level of, public attention, and the same commitment to finding answers. Because every life has equal value regardless of the skin color. Okay, it's not that when the victim is a white person, then the case is investigated with urgency, all those things. But when it's a black person, it's now so many delays, no, and so many tampering of the case, no. Now, as I was watching the video, I don't know you, but I noticed some concerns and some advices that people are trying to give in the video. Now, let's try to look at that. Now, the first concern being raised is the demand, for complete transparency and the accountability. You see, people are saying they don't want another case filed with unanswered questions, conflicting timelines, or like information that leaves families wondering what really happened. I mean, there are some cases of black people that died, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, but until today, answers are not provided. People are still questioning what really happened. So people want the investigators to communicate clearly, follow every lead, and make sure the truth comes out. Because unanswered questions often create even more pain for the grieving families. Because sometimes you can understand when somebody who is your relative died like a natural death, okay? But when answers are not coming and years are passing, you keep on thinking about that. Now, the second concern is about equal treatment under the law. Now, in the video, many people believe justice should be consistent, okay? Shouldn't be like when it's a black case, they handle it this way. When it's a white case, they handle it this way. No, it should be consistent. Whether the victim is black, white, rich, poor, young, or you are Asian, whatever, okay? It doesn't matter you are connected to the influential people. They want the legal system to show the same urgency, the same professionalism in trying to investigate, in trying to search for the truth, and the same determination in every case. Because public trust depends on everyone believing that no life is valued more than the other. Shouldn't be like white people lives matter more than black people lives. They are all lives. They all matter. So there should be equal treatment under the law. Now, the third concern is also, it's not concern as such, it's kind of, a piece of advice for parents, especially black parents. Now, in the video, many people are encouraging parents to know exactly where their children are, who they are spending time with, what environment they are walking into. I mean, children often believe everyone around them is a true friend because these are children, okay? But parents should continue having, some sort of honest conversation about personal safety, trusting their instincts, and never have a feeling of embarrassed to leave a situation that doesn't, feel right, okay? Don't be embarrassed. Leave that situation. Leave that space where you feel like maybe you are the only black person, or you feel like you're not treated as a human being. Don't force yourself just to fit in. So those conversations may seem small, but they can make huge difference. And other people also argued that no, when you tell your black kids to avoid hanging around with white kids, that's not racism. No, because it's just how you look at history and study the patterns that, in most cases, whenever there is a black person, the only black person among the white space, We don't know what happens, but it seems the black person is the first person to die in that group. So people are trying to look at that and see that no, the dots are not easily getting connected. People are looking at the math, not math. Now, the fourth concern is that communities should avoid rushing to conclusions while still demanding thorough investigation. Okay, I don't know what they're trying to mean, but I think it's possible to ask difficult questions, support the victim's family, and expect, accountability without assuming facts that investigators have not yet confirmed at the same time. So that's what, some people raised in the video. Like, people also believe investigators have responsibility to provide timely updates, because silence often leads to rumors, speculation, even more public frustration. So as much as we know thorough investigation may need time, still when it's too much delayed, it also raises unanswered question. And finally, the fifth is like a message that also kept being repeated throughout this discussion. And the message is that every child's life really matters. It's valuable, okay? Regardless of their race, like their skin color, or their background, or where they come from. No family should ever have to fight just to receive attention, just to receive answers for their child, or just to receive justice. Every parent deserves to know what exactly happened to their children. Every child deserves to be remembered with dignity, respect, and compassion. That is when they are dead. But it's always good. Prevention is better than cure. Before it gets to that, that's why that comes advice that black parents need to be careful when it comes to handling their children. As the children, they may not know. They may think everyone in the world is an uncle. They may think everyone in the world is their sister. Is just a human being. But they don't know what life is. So it's always good for parents to teach their children who they hang out with, to teach them how and when to go out. But at the end of the day, this is another family that is grieving, another young life that has been lost, and another community searching for answers, demanding justice. And hopefully the investigation will continue to follow the evidence wherever it leads, and the truth, whatever that is going to come, will come right, because that's what every family deserves. But now I want to hear from you, like brothers and sisters. What do you think about this case, and what stood out to you the most after watching this video? Kindly share your thoughts respectively down in the comments below. Let's have a meaningful discussion. Whatever your point is, whatever your perspective, whatever your comment, is also part of this discussion. And if this is your first time here, please don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, so that you never miss what's coming, like the updates. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.